The Barber of Benin City. If you've ever been to Benin City, you know that appearance is everything. From the moment the sun rises, young men crowd around barber shops, mirrors, and street corners, checking their fades, adjusting their chains, making sure every detail is perfect. In a city where your look could determine whether you got that job, caught that girl's attention, or earned respect from your peers, looking sharp wasn't optional, it was survival. But in the middle of all these barber shops, in the heart of Ring Road, there was one place that stood above all others. A place where once you got your hair cut there, you never wanted to go anywhere else. It wasn't the biggest shop. It wasn't the most modern, just a small concrete room with red walls and a cracked mirror that somehow made everyone look better. Above the door hung a hand-painted sign that read, "Brother Razor, the best hands in Benin." At first, it seemed like typical barber shop bragging. After all, in a city where every barber claimed to be the best, what made this one so special? But here's the thing, nobody ever disagreed. Rich men, poor men, students, Yahoo boys, even police officers, they all sat in Brother Razor's chair. And after he was done with them, something changed. Some swore their haircuts never grew out of shape. Others claimed that after Brother Razor cut their hair, good things started happening to them. Job interviews they thought they'd failed suddenly called them back. Girls who had been ignoring them suddenly noticed them. Deals that seemed impossible suddenly closed. It was as if Brother Razor's hands carried some kind of blessing. The man who ran the shop was known simply as Brother Razor, but his real name was Osaze Igbinovia. He was a tall, lean man in his 40s with skin the color of dark chocolate and hands that moved with surgical precision. His face was always calm, almost expressionless. But his eyes had a strange intensity that made people look away. He never smiled, never joked, never engaged in the usual barbershop banter. He just cut hair perfectly, every single time. He had been running the shop for over 7 years. People traveled from Wari, Asaba, even Lagos just to sit in his chair. Okada riders planned their routes around his location. Corporate workers took extended lunch breaks. Even men who had been going to the same barber for decades suddenly found themselves making excuses. Let me just see what the hype is about. But once they sat in Brother Razor's chair, they never went anywhere else again. And that was the strange part. It wasn't just about the haircut. It was something more. At first, people thought maybe it was his technique. Maybe he had trained abroad or learned some special method. But the truth was more disturbing because Brother Razor had a secret. And that secret wasn't in his scissors or his clippers. It was in what he did with your hair after he cut it. Nobody had ever seen him sweep. Other barbershops had young boys, apprentices, who swept up hair throughout the day, dumping it in black nylon bags outside. But not Brother Razor. He worked alone, and somehow, by the time you finished paying and looked down, the hair that had fallen from your head was already gone, vanished, as if it had never existed. Nobody questioned it, because once they looked in the mirror and saw how good they looked, they didn't care. Emeka was a final year student at the University of Benin studying mechanical engineering. He was the kind of guy who kept his head down, stayed out of trouble, and focused on his books. His father, a retired civil servant, had sacrificed everything to send him to school, and Emeka wasn't about to let him down. But life in Uniben was not easy. Between project deadlines, exam pressure, and the constant struggle to make ends meet, Emeka barely had time to breathe. His appearance had taken a back seat. His hair was rough, unkempt, growing wild in every direction. His roommates joked about it constantly. "Guy, you look like madman for street. How you go even defend project looking like this? Now what for you, oh? Emeka laughed it off, but deep down, he knew Chidi was right. His final year project defense was in 2 weeks, and he looked like someone who had been living in the bush. He needed a haircut, a good one. And that was when someone mentioned Brother Razor. That man na magician. Once he touch your head, your life go change, I swear. Emeka didn't believe in superstitions, but he was desperate. So the next Saturday, he took an Okada to Ring Road and found himself standing in front of the small red barber shop. Inside, Brother Razor was working on a customer, his clippers moving like mechanical precision. The man in the chair looked half asleep, his head tilted back, completely relaxed. Emeka sat down on the wooden bench and waited. 20 minutes later, it was his turn. "Good afternoon, sir," Emeka greeted as he sat down. Brother Razor said nothing. He just draped the black cape around Emeka's shoulders and picked up his clippers. His hands moved like a machine, fast, steady, flawless. Emeka watched in the mirror as his rough, overgrown hair transformed into a clean, sharp fade. The barber's face remained blank the entire time. No small talk, no questions, just the hum of the clippers and the soft brush of the cleaning brush against Emeka's neck. When Brother Razor finally finished, Emeka stared at himself in the mirror and gasped. He looked like a completely different person. Sharper, more confident, more alive. "How much, sir?" Emeka asked, reaching for his wallet. 1,000, Brother Razor said flatly. Emeka paid and left, feeling on top of the world. But as he walked out, something nagged at the back of his mind. He glanced back at the floor where his hair should have been. It was spotless. Not a single strand remained. He shrugged it off and headed home.
Over the next few days, strange things started happening. Emeka's project supervisor, who had been harsh and critical for months, suddenly became friendly and approving. His defense went smoother than expected. A girl he'd been crushing on for 2 years suddenly started texting him. Even his usually grumpy landlord smiled at him and said, "You're looking sharp these days, my boy." Emeka told himself it was just confidence, that looking good had changed how people saw him. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something else was at play. 2 weeks later, his hair started growing back, but not the way it used to. It grew in uneven patches, wild and untamed, as if rebelling against his scalp. He tried cutting it himself. Didn't work. He went to another barber shop. The barber messed it up completely. Nothing worked. His hair refused to cooperate unless Brother Razor touched it. So Emeka went back, and this time he paid closer attention. It was late evening when Emeka returned to the shop. The streets were quieter now, the usual buzz of Ring Road fading into the background. Brother Razor was alone, cleaning his tools. Emeka walked in and the barber looked up, his face as blank as ever. "Sit," he said simply. As Brother Razor walked, Emeka watched him in the mirror, watched the way his hands moved, watched the way the hair fell. And then, just as the barber was finishing up, he saw it. Instead of sweeping the hair into a pile, Brother Razor bent down, picked up every single strand with his bare hands and placed them into a small black pouch that hung from his waist. His movements were quick, almost ritualistic. And then, without a word, he tucked the pouch back under his apron. Emeka's blood ran cold. "Sir," Emeka said carefully, "what do you do with the hair?" Brother Razor stopped. His hand froze mid-air. Slowly, he turned to face Emeka, and for the first time, his expression changed. His eyes darkened, his jaw tightened. "Why you dey ask?" Emeka's heart pounded. I just curious, sir." Brother Razor stared at him for a long, uncomfortable moment. Then he leaned in close, so close that Emeka could feel his breath. "Your hair," he whispered, "is your identity, your essence, your destiny. And once I take it, it belongs to me. Emeka's mouth dried. What do you mean? Brother Razor smiled for the first time, and it was the most terrifying thing Emeka had ever seen. You find out, he said softly. Now go. Emeka didn't wait. He threw money on the counter and ran. That night, Emeka couldn't sleep. His mind raced with questions. What was Brother Razor doing with people's hair? Why did everyone who went to him become so dependent on his cuts? And most importantly, what had he gotten himself into? He tried to ignore it, tried to tell himself it was all in his head. But the craving started again. His scalp itched, his hair felt wrong, and the only thing that could fix it was Brother Razor. By the third day, Emeka was desperate. He went to see a herbalist in a small village outside Benin City, an old woman with milky eyes and gnarled fingers. She listened to his story, then shook her head slowly. That man is using your hair to control you. Every strand he takes, he binds your destiny to his will. You will never be free unless you get it back. How? Emeka asked, panic rising in his chest. The old woman leaned forward. You must burn it. Find where he keeps the hair and burn it all. Only then will you be free. Emeka knew what he had to do. He waited until midnight, then crept back to Brother Razor's shop. The lights were off, but the door was slightly ajar. His heart hammered as he pushed it open and stepped inside. The shop was dark, silent, but in the back, behind the curtain, he saw a faint glow. He moved toward it, hands trembling, and when he pulled the curtain aside, he froze. There, on a wooden table, were hundreds of small black pouches, each one labeled with a name. Emeka's eyes scanned the table until he found his own name written in chalk, Emeka Onkonkwo. He grabbed his pouch and several others, stuffing them into his bag. Then he pulled out a matchbox, struck a match, and set the entire table ablaze. The fire spread quickly, smoke filled the room, and as Emeka ran out into the night, he heard a scream, a deep guttural scream that didn't sound human. The next morning, Brother Razor's shop was nothing but ashes. The barber was never seen again, and slowly, one by one, the men of Benin City began to feel normal again. Their hair grew naturally, their lives returned to their own control. But to this day, some still talk about Brother Razor, about the barber whose hands could change your life if you are willing to give him your soul. Moral of the story. 1. Not every blessing is a blessing. Just because something improves your life doesn't mean it's good for you. Brother Razor gave people confidence and success, but at a terrible cost. 2. Beware of dependency. When you can't function without something or someone, you've lost your freedom. True power comes from within, not from external sources. 3. Your identity is yours alone. Never give anyone power over who you are. Whether it's your hair, your choices, or your destiny, guard it carefully. 4. Curiosity can be dangerous, but ignorance can be deadly. Emeka's curiosity saved not just himself, but an entire city of men who had unknowingly sold pieces of themselves. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more African folk tales with a modern twist.